Vielen Dank, AC. Guten Abend. Mein Name ist Noleen. Und ich danke Ihnen, dass Sie hier sind. And now I'm going to switch to English because my German is practically non-existent. I'm really, really grateful to be here and to have this opportunity to speak to you. And I hope that I can honor your time with being able to offer some insights into the metaverse, into the technologies that underpin and that are associated with it. Also looking at a very realistic view of the metaverse. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's really about how we utilize it and actually leveraging technology, which is what we're all about, what I'm all about. How can we leverage business, technology, the opportunities that we have for good, and avoid the threats which are inherent everywhere. It's not just with the metaverse; it's with all technologies and how they can be used. So I'm going to make a start. We've got quite a lot to cover, and I hope that this is going to be of benefit to you. And please, if there's anything that wasn't clear or you'd like to explore a little bit further or just have questions, I know there isn't much time during this Congress, but please feel free to reach out. More than happy to help, to support, and really look at how we use technology for the benefit both of business and people and planet. So, a bit of an overview, quickly, I'll give a bit of context about myself, look at the Web3 space, the metaverse, which I know you've had speakers ahead of me, so you'll be a little bit better versed in the metaverse if you weren't previously. Look at some of the technologies, the context of the space generally, and that might, you might have had some insights there as well. Look at some of the challenges, but also the opportunities and how we can prepare for what's here and what's to come. And looking at how we build a purpose-led future, how we look at capacity building as we move forward. And really, it's a short time. It's a lot to cover, but hopefully it will start to get you to think about the things that you could be doing as you step into the metaverse. As you step into the Web3 space, as you start to explore whether it's something that, you want to explore and can benefit you and how and what the best way is for you to do that. So if you're new to the tech space, you're in good company because I was too. My journey started in South Africa. That's where I was born. I was born during apartheid. It was a time when I was legally a lesser person. So by law, because of my race, there were certain things that just weren't open to me. So as an example, my school had less subsidies because there were only brown people in our school, non-white people. And because of that, we had a computer class which only had one computer in it. So all of my computer lessons were theory. I saw a computer once. We switched it on. We all had the opportunity to switch it on and switch it off again. And that was it. Thankfully, apartheid ended. I was able to get a scholarship to go to university. And I had to start using computers, but I was petrified of the things. So I would handwrite all of my assignments, and then you couldn't do that anymore. So I then started I actually bought an electric typewriter so that I could use that instead. And eventually started to step into the technology space and learn more. But what became very apparent to me was just how much of a disadvantage I was at because there were certain things that just weren't comfortable for me. And because it was so difficult to take that first step, the gap just became bigger and bigger, And if the gap became bigger and bigger then over the space of the year, now we're in a state where it becomes bigger almost by the day. So I'm really here, I feel like my purpose, and it's a drive, it's not a choice, is to use everything that I have that's at my disposal to make a difference in the world. I worked with nonprofits for a long time, and I recognized that there was a difficulty in allowing for scaling and capacity building due to the model. So I'm very much an advocate of business for good and conscious capitalism. So that's where I'm positioned with the consulting company that I have. We focus on strategy, operations, and sustainability, looking at how businesses can actually do more while maintaining profits and building profits. And recognizing that some of the problems in the world are problems that it is possible for us to fix if we can scale solutions. The technology is there for most of the problems. The know-how is there. It's within our reach. It's just for us to be able to collaborate in a way for us to prioritize as a global society, to be able to start to make an impact and actually arrive at the solutions that truly make a difference. And that's what Impactoverse is about. How can we enable creators, allow for creators to work, step within the space and really be able to make a difference without necessarily having much Web3 or knowledge of NFTs or anything like that, but just using what's possible to be able to collaborate to do more. And to collaborate and for businesses to align with impact initiatives, for creators to use their creative gifts to be able to benefit more. So I'm going to blitz through, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of context as to where I'm at and why this is so important to me. So the metaverse, you would have had some examples earlier on and a lot of people speaking to you about it. It's a virtual space. It's immersive and I'm not going to cover too much about it because you'd understand now a little bit more about the metaverse. And it's a virtual space where we can experience what we wouldn't necessarily in the physical world. But it also allows for us to be able to experience what we can in the physical world if we had the ability to. So, for example, traveling to different places, you're able to actually see those places without being physically there. You're able to, perhaps view artwork in a museum without actually traveling to Paris or, going to a museum in, the US or wherever it might be. So Web3 is really, the underlying aspect of the metaverse. And a large amount of Web3 and what really makes it so beneficial to us is, and particularly to the creator economy, is that it tackles ownership and data issues. And these were a lot of the main drawbacks of Web 2. So it's decentralized. There isn't a single player owner. You can become a powerhouse of your own within the space and take ownership of what it is that you create. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are two aspects within Web3. Continuous learning and being able to apply. A lot of it is being able, at the moment is used for information, entertainment, but there is so much that can be applied for solutions. It's being deployed in healthcare, in education, across the board, across different industries. And there's a lot that we can really look at and learn from within industries. We always have to look at what are the transferable data sets and knowledge pieces that we can glean from different industries that are using the technology. It's about connectivity. It's about us being able to tap into different communities who are aligned with us wherever they may be. We see it happen a lot within the gaming space. But what is now happening is that more and more people can start to interact in this way for different purposes. We see a lot of cause-driven initiatives. And that's one of the focus areas that we are looking at, and trustless and permissionless networks. What this really means is that You don't have to establish trust because everything is transparent. You can actually see all of the transactions and the records. An interesting fact: approximately 43% of the internet is owned by just those few companies. We have 5 companies, and they own 43% of the internet and our internet interaction. And what Web3 allows for us to do is to take some of that control back. If we ever had the control within the space, but to be able to claim some control. So if we look now at some of the underpinning technologies and associated technologies, AR, VR, AI, this is more common. We kind of are a little bit more aware of this. Blockchain is the foundation of the metaverse and has far more wide-reaching applications than just what people associate it with. So a lot of people think about blockchain and they immediately think just about cryptocurrency. And this is, obviously one of the initial trends that made blockchain, brought it into public view. But it's really about decentralization and transparency, allowing for more people to be able to see what is happening within the space. And the implications are massive. So, for example, giving you some real life examples, using blockchain technology to be able to allow for donors to support initiatives in places where corruption is a major issue. So, for example, across Africa, a lot of people don't donate because there's so much corruption. But what blockchain enables is for us to be able to look at different ways of supporting. And because of that transparency that it allows and all transactions being visible, we can actually start to do that. NFTs. So again, a lot of people think of NFTs as just digital artwork. But the utility, the ways in which we can use it is growing massively for financial activities, ownership, so land registries for other assets. And we're looking at how we bridge that gap, looking at, consistently, how is it that we allow for more people to be able to step into the space and benefit, or else the gap gets bigger and a lot of people get left behind. DAOs, these are decentralized autonomous organizations. There are a few people which, at the moment, it's not a massive area, but it's quickly growing. It's decentralized. There's autonomous governance, a democratic set of rules. And the interesting thing is that all of these rules are programmed, and its decision making is actually made by a computer based on these programmed rules. Like with many things, it all depends on the rules that you program in. If you've got good rules, you're going to, be in a better situation. So we have to think about that. And like I said earlier, it's not the be all and end all. It's not the answer to all things. It's really about how we implement and how we utilize the benefits. And then DeFi, which is decentralized finance. And this is a very interesting area. Decentralized finance actually allows for us to be able to create economic empowerment initiatives, for us to be able to step into a more financially inclusive space. There's a raft of financial services, trading, lending, borrowing, insurance, that really marginalizes a lot of people. And this allows for more people to be able to step into that space. It allows for, more efficiency, greater security. But again, it also depends on how it's developed. And always it's about being, thorough, vetting things and making sure that what we're engaging with has a very solid foundation. So just because something is blockchain, or just because something is DeFi, doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. And just because it allows for greater financial inclusion doesn't necessarily mean that all people are included. Just because it can allow for increased inclusivity doesn't mean that all people, that it is inclusive in that way or equitable in that way. So, for example, the Web3 space, particularly in terms of leaders and founders, is not necessarily one that is fairly equitable. It allows for great equity, but it's not equitable in a lot of ways. Because if you think of representation across the space, it's severely lacking. There's a lot to be addressed. So we have to look at what is the opportunity that it presents, and how we can leverage the technology and how we can utilize it and create a model that we feel aligns with what we stand for. And what we stand for is, equity, fairness, inclusivity, and all of those types of things. So moving on, quickly looking at the difference between Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. Web 1 was actually decentralized, and a lot of people, think about this, but it was a very, very basic version of decentralization, and it was pretty much only read-only. So you had a lot of information. Most people can't remember Web 1. Read-only, information sharing, very basic forms. Advertising was very basic. Moved on to Web 2. This was the social age, and it still is to a great extent, but the way in which we're interacting is changing. So Web 2, read and write. So you can contribute and you can gain from the space. It allows for more interaction. So many web apps. Most people only have to look at their phones to see how much, and constantly bombarded with them, and more interactive advertising. So Web 3, this is looking at really that ownership space, where you can benefit from reading and writing, but you also have the opportunity to own what it is that you create within the space. It focuses also on the individual, and this is, as opposed to just big corporations. As an individual, or as a company yourself, or as a startup, or as an industry, you can actually create a space for yourself and benefit from Web 3. Smart apps, and this is looking at, more of the AI and machine learning, and behavioral advertising. So behavioral advertising really taps into what are the things that not just taps into people's, the engagement, but actually it affects behavior in some way. Right. The context. So this is specifically very quickly in the creative space. And you will see that visual artists are most heavily involved. And then you have even more so than gaming, but that's because visual artists contribute to gaming as well, and contribute to digital fashion, and contribute to so many other areas. And musicians, and interestingly, writers as well. So, there are people within the space getting involved, but there's a lot more to be done to actually bridge that gap and allow for more people to be supported in benefiting and to be able to make a difference. Some of the use cases. Gaming, most people know about this. Entertainment, people are using, having concerts in the metaverse. Education, I believe just a couple of days ago, Meta announced some education initiatives where kids could learn astronomy by visiting the rings of Saturn, so you can actually see it. Healthcare. Majorly huge transitions here in terms of the use of AI, and actually having virtual sessions with different experts in different areas, but also looking at how people can learn from 3D models of the body, of different issues, and actually being able to strip down things at an atomic level, and actually monitor them. Real estate for ownership, work and leisure. More and more people are looking at how it is that they can, work remotely but immersively, so that it's not just video conferences, but more people are actually open to being able to work in a virtual space with their colleagues. Architecture, a lot being done around digital twinning. So this is where you can see a virtual, essentially a replica of what's being done in real life. And social and environmental impact. There's a lot here around, for example, green tokens and tokenization for social and environmental impact initiatives, and a lot in the space that can be done. So there's potential. Right. How does this apply to the creative and cultural industries? On a very simple level, you have virtual worlds. So for creators, artists, you can have museums, countries can actually appeal to people who might never need to visit them to be able to see everything that they have to offer by creating a virtual experience of the highlights of the country. Creators can create entire universes of their own. Lots of virtual interactive experiences. Also allows for people to collaborate on in a way that's very, very different to doing it in traditional ways where you're just typing or writing or all getting onto a call. You can actually collaborate by feeling like you are connecting with other people, and that significantly changes things. But some of the major benefits for the creative and cultural industries, it's similar to other industries. Taking ownership. We are in the space of a creator economy now. Earning power, actually looking at how we can tokenize and create essentially economies of wealth and be able to use that wealth to scale impact, extending reach and access. We really have to look at how it is, or we have the ability to actually reach people wherever they are, as long as they have access to the internet. And, that is an issue in itself. We have to look at how we allow for that in different places in the world. And the ability to create a token economy. And I'll talk about that a little bit more very quickly. So a token economy, this is a major benefit, and people aren't really thinking about it in this way. As much as there is the potential for it. It's, most people are thinking quite simply of just NFT ecosystems and that sort of thing. But most people have the ability to create a token economy if they have something to offer and if they can mobilize a community, if they can mobilize people to get behind what it is that they offer. So brands, an individual, a community, you basically create digital assets that's backed by your reputation. So if you have a good reputation, this allows for you to benefit. Transparency, that comes with blockchain. Better access and security that removes some of the financial barriers and allows more people to participate. And it allows for you to monetize these tokens because people will actually pay for the value of this token that you create because it offers a specific exchange. It has a value that can be exchanged for it. And please, I'm running out of time, so do feel free to tap into me at some point if there's something you want to explore later on. More context for the economy, new markets and revenue streams, investment, digital and phygital products. So phygital goods and services, physical that are linked to digital, less corruptibility. For people, everything that I've listed in people, it's all about how we actually use this for benefit, right? So we have to allow for inclusion, for access, for diversity, for engagement and connection, and for collaboration. If we don't allow for that, it won't happen even if the technology can facilitate it. Environment, reduce carbon footprints, aligning consumer trends with environmental impact, things like impact bonds, and actually verifying some of the impact that we have. Challenges, developing secure, scalable, efficient, robust infrastructure. This is a major issue. Governance models and protections, making sure that people are protected within the space, and limited information and exclusivity. It's still a very exclusive space, and we need to be addressing this, or we just grow that digital divide. Opportunities, very high level for engagement. We can engage at a level that we couldn't before. We can allow for more sustainability-focused initiatives. And the fact that all of this is at early stages means that there's great opportunities. Countries are launching metaverse initiatives. The UK has just invested in a cultural metaverse. Top firms are now offering metaverse consulting as part of what they do. And this is all highlighting that there is an opportunity here. So people need to get into the space. And we can prepare by just taking that first step, getting informed, staying informed, and developing this culture of learning and understanding. It's not just about falling into the trap of the hype. You have to think about your audience. You plan for the outcomes that you want, and you develop strategies that support positive impact alongside the goals that you want to achieve. And essential, robust systems and processes that take into account protections and inclusivity, and being prepared to adapt. We have to develop a culture of continuous improvement because things are bound to change constantly. And that's it, really. We can enhance business outcomes to benefit people and planet. But we have to develop and leverage the technology in a way that shows value, fairness, and actually utilizes that transparency for good. Engaging and collaborating for more sustainable, purpose-focused economy that's resilient, that's adaptable. We have to encourage market and non-market activities. And we have to allow for and promote a social and environmentally responsible culture as part of token economies. It has to be built in and intrinsic, and leverage the potential of the technology to create efficient, equitable, and sustainable outcomes. And the future is really ours to create. And that's about it. So I've been a little bit over my time, but I hope that what I've shared has been of value. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you'll stay connected.